I'm Custom Cez for Roma Custom Bike, and in this episode we'll finally hear the sound of the engine. So in this episode of Roma Custom Bike, we're finally reassembling the bike that has been in these conditions for way too long. Yesterday with the CNC we have created this little disc that will need to drive the speedo driver. We need this notch that is usually on the disc, but since we have put the disc on the right side, so to match the rear tire disc, we wouldn't have it on the left. So we're gonna then proceed with our friend Luca, which is now a veteran of the show, with the assembly of the carburetor, mufflers, and we're gonna end up with the rear fender and rear tire. Moral of the story, today we're gonna hear this bike start up. So cross your fingers, let's hope everything goes well. We immediately started installing the piece we made to engage the speedo driver. We used some thread locker before installing the screws. Then we started prepping for the installation of the front wheel. We started by lubricating the shaft and then positioning the single-sided front fender support we made with our own CNC machine. Once installed, along with the brake caliper, we started installing the wheel. Here you can see how the speedo driver's pin fits perfectly into the disc we made yesterday. Right? Finally, we installed the nut. Please note that at a later time we used the torque wrench to torque it as specified on the shop manual. We are almost done with the front end. But doesn't it look like something is missing here?
Il disco.
What morons!
Take two with the disc.
Okay, let's start over and do it right. It is ridiculously hot today, and if we have to do everything twice, we're never gonna finish. But thanks to the astonishing skills of our post-production crew, we're back where we were in just a few seconds. Getting one step closer to hear the engine roar, is now the time to install the oil tank.
We are Italians, so extra virgin.
The oil bag is not that easy to install. What I mean is that it's kind of easy, it's just so uncomfortable. Then it's time to route and install all the hoses for the oil circulation. Then we place all the wiring through the tank holes so that they can reach the battery and electronics. And let me tell you, that's also not easy at all.
I'm pretty sure right now Luca is thinking, who the hell told me to take part in this project?
This is the clip where, in episode 5, Luca was incredibly happy and eager to come work with Custom Cez. He doesn't look all that happy anymore, does he? Then I proceeded with installing the engine bracket. As you can see, they're being freshly powder coated. Now has come the time to install the manifold. And since I had it taken apart, I figured I would give it a nice polish. The fact that we're two people made the installation a breeze, as well as reinstalling the carburetor, especially since we never took it apart and the air filter assembly is still on it. We just make sure that the throttle cable is working fine and we proceed with installation. After pushing it into the manifold, it's just a matter of tightening a few support screws. I figured it would be best to install a brand new oil filter, and Luca taught me that it's important to dip your finger in some oil and run it along the O-ring to guarantee a perfect airtight seal. I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
we're almost done. All we have to do is fill the tank with some fresh new oil in the amount specified in the shop manual.
Ok, appoggia questo, vedi questi due sotto?
Now we can direct our attention to the exhaust system. Installation is very simple. They're a pair of drag pipes I got in the States and I brought back to Italy. They were way too loud for over here, so I proceeded with cutting them and inserting a couple of small baffles inside of them with a little sheetrock to bring the volume down just enough not to be stopped by the police continuously. Maybe one day I'll make a tutorial about that too. We have now been working on this for the last 6 hours.
Perché ormai c'ho le fregole.
And honestly, I can't wait anymore. I want to hear this darn engine start. Just a few more details. The battery leads need to be screwed in, and I even sucked gas out of Luca's bike so I wouldn't waste any time going to the gas station.
So we're at the moment of truth. We have a funnel, we have some fuel. I didn't suck it out of a gas tank now for 20 years. I remember as a kid I used to do it all the time from my parents' car. But anyway, it's either starting now or never. Let's try.
Look at the sophistication of our system. The funnel is directly hooked into the line going onto the carburetor. That's some classy Italian engineering right there.
Dico che siamo arrivati alla fine, è l'ora che mettiamo la benzina in questa HD e che Dio resista.
You can see right in Luca's face that he has had it for today.
Vai dottore, vai, vai. Basta.
A bunch of friends and neighbors had gathered around for the big event, so we actually have a little bit of an audience to witness our success or failure.
Scarica la batteria.
The freaking battery is dead.
Mannaggia il mondo, ve l'avevo detto, la batteria è carica, sì!
The puny little charger I have at my disposal of course couldn't do the trick of jump-starting the bike. So we had to go and take apart the battery from a donor bike, aka Luca's bike.
Is it gonna blow or something?
Don't you be scared, little girl. Uncle Cez is gonna make everything alright.
I'm scared.
To be able to smell the very first exhaust fumes coming out of my sweet ride after all this time has been such an intense moment for me that I'll definitely remember it for a long time. But there's a leak at the rear muffler. Probably we just need to tighten the bolts a little bit more. But I'm a little bit more concerned about the oil leak at the base of the pushrod. I don't know what that could be, but I surely hope it's an easy fix. The other pushrods seem to be fine. It looks like we have put a little bit too much oil in the tank. Maybe that's one of the causes of the leak. Too much pressure in the crankcase. So yesterday we finally got the engine to run again, and I have to tell you it was an incredible feeling. I didn't think that we would have got it right the first time around, but we did. We still have a couple of tune-ups to do. We had a little leakage at one of the push rods and a little leakage on one of the mufflers, the rear one as a matter of fact, and we're gonna fix that right now. We had an oil leak at the base of the rear push rod, and now we're trying to figure out why that happened. Luca thinks it's because the O-ring didn't sit properly. It might have slipped inside the assembly, causing it not to work at all. So we proceed with fixing the problem and seating the O-ring in the right way.
Senti, visto che ci siamo, vogliamo dargli un altro giro di vite ai pushrod che si sono assestati?
Since we're at it, we're going to take a look at all our adjustable pushrods. In this model, we have self-adjusting hydraulic tappets, so that they can compensate for the swelling of the metals that occurs at high temperatures. Now that Luca has had a chance to hear the engine run, he's going to perform a final adjustment.
Ieri abbiamo messo in moto l'Harley. Non abbiamo considerato l'olio che si è depositato nel basamento, quindi tra quello che abbiamo aggiunto e quello del basamento ce n'era troppo.
Since we have determined that we have fed too much oil into the system, Luca will proceed with removing some of it with this huge copper syringe. Now it's time to install the rear tire, and this time we haven't forgotten about the disc. To complete the wheel assembly, I installed the sprockets with enough spacer to allow for a 200 tire to fit without touching the chain. Once done, we can put it on the swing arm. You might notice that the arrow is pointing backwards. Yes, we had to take the old wheel apart and reassemble everything the right way. Do it twice, but do it right, I guess. This is a classic silly mistake that you make when you're trying to rush things. I put a brand new rear disc, so I had to make space between the pads to fit the thicker surface. The old one was pretty worn out, so at this assembly the pads were resting much closer together. The space between the disc and the rim is very tight, so I want to be extra careful not to scratch the brand new powder-coated wheel. The spacer you see between the support and the calipers are placed there so that the middle of the caliper is perfectly aligned with the middle of the disc. So this is it for this first part of this two-parts episode. Just click here to go directly to the second part when we'll finally attend our very first rally.